So in this knife, I want to compare the 8-inch chef's knife and the Shun Premier line and the G2 by Global, which is a 20-centimeter chef's knife. They're essentially both 8 inches, but that's the end of that. So off the bat, these are both Japanese-style knives. They're both made in Japan. They're both handmade, and they both have a lifetime warranty. On top of that, they both have a very similar cutting angle, 16 degrees for the Shun and 15 degrees for the Global. But that's really where the similarities end. On the one hand is the manufacturing process. The Global is actually a blade that's been made separately, a handle that's been made separately and hollowed out. They fill the handle with sand, and then they weld the two together and sort of smooth it out. That gives you the pro of having a very nice weight that you're able to really control when you're manufacturing it. But it also gives you the con of having this very, very big weak point right here. And while the stories are rare, there have been stories about the knife breaking along this point, and you really don't want to have that when you're dealing with sharp things and you're cutting things. The Shun is a more traditionally made knife. It's forged, it has a full tang going through this brown pakkawood handle, and pakkawood is essentially a resin-filled compressed wood, so it's very, very resilient to staining and to water damage and things like that. There's also lots of nice attention to detail in both knives. You have the gold little band here, you have the Shun logo smashed into the back right there. And on the Global, you have these gorgeous sort of golf ball dimples on the bottom that really make them stand out. And that's the thing about both of these knives, is anyone who knows cooking can recognize both these knives from across the room. And that's why many people find themselves trying to differentiate between the two when they're choosing a knife set. So aside from that, let's get into the actual blade. The blades are both relatively similar, like I said, 16 degrees and 15 degrees, but in terms of the actual construction of the blade, they're vastly, vastly different. The Shun uses VG Max steel, which is a notch better than the gold standard VG10 that everyone knows about. It's a 61 hardness, which is very, very hard, and that means that it's going to hold its edge very, very, very well. By contrast, the Global uses Chromova 18, which is a much softer metal. It's about 56 to 58. That means it's going to get dull much faster, but it's also going to be able to withstand much more abuse. In my mind, however, as long as you're using good knife skills, you always want to have the harder metal, because it ends up being less maintenance and work on your end down the line. Now, the Global is actually just a piece of Chromova 18 that's been forged to be a knife, and that's sort of where they end it. The Shun is a piece of VG Max that's been forged to be a knife. They then fold 34 layers on either side of stainless steel into the blade, which number one gives you this gorgeous Damascus pattern you see on the bottom half of the blade, hopefully. But number two, it makes it extremely resilient to rust and staining and pitting and things like that. On top of that, they then hammer the upper half of the blade to make food release easier, and it also just looks gorgeous. So both knives, like I said, have a lifetime warranty, but the Shun also comes with lifetime sharpening for free, and that's a very, very big deal in my mind, because as you guys know, with knives like this, if you take it to a reputable sharpener, they're going to charge you $5 per inch for a non-serrated blade, which means both of these out the door would cost you around $40 to sharpen, and even then you don't really know if they're going to do a good job or if you're going to be one of those horror stories you always hear about. With the Shun, you ship it to Shun, they look at the knife, they see any problems, they throw it away, they send you a brand new one, but otherwise you can rest easy knowing they're going to put the exact same edge back on the knife that was there when you first purchased it and first fell in love with the blade. So both of these have their pros and cons. I'll put a link down to both below. If you guys have any questions or comments or concerns, as always, let me know. Otherwise, I will talk to you very soon. So in this knife, I want to compare the 8-inch chef's knife and the Shun Premier line and the G2 by Global, which is a 20-centimeter chef's knife. They're essentially both 8 inches, but that's the end of that. So off the bat, these are both Japanese-style knives.